Good morning. Welcome to our garden. Today we're going to start mulching this garden with fall leaves. Now, if you've been following us on social media or watching any of our shorts, you will have seen Dale busy collecting free leaves. Come on, let's go get the supplies. That is a huge pile of leaves. Thank you, Dale. Now we're going to mulch this back area of the garden. First, we're going to have to take off the netting. And then we're going to be able to put the leaves under it, but we're going to close them back because there's still bugs around. Wow, look how beautiful these are. Let's go ahead and harvest some and bring them in the house. This is Napa cabbage. These are turnips. We're going to use these in the salad. They're little babies. Now this is some kohlrabi. It's not yet bulbing up, but the leaves are going to be delicious. I've been looking for some bok choy. There's not any in this bed, but there's some over there. We're going to use this in Dale's salad. Now you see, I've already laid down the cardboard. I've secured it with pins. Let me show you one. I've done that because cardboard is really light and the wind's just gonna knock it over. I used to use bricks, but wow, that's a lot of work, and honestly, I just don't have enough. So the pins work for me. Now we're gonna put the leaves on top, but first we're gonna put down some Sluggo. It's organic, and the slugs eat it and die, but it's safe for other animals and birds. cardboard and mulch have a huge benefit of holding in the moisture. The soil stays moist, but the downside is slugs love the moist environment. To help control the slugs and the pill bugs, we use the Sluggo, but birds love it. If I put it on top of the leaves or the mulch or whatever I used, hay, birds would just flock to it and eat it all up. That's why I put it under the mulch. You want to use dead fall leaves. Dale got these bags driving around picking up for free at curbside. Now, of course, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, ask permission. You can repurpose these bags for laying them down like you would the cardboard, but they're not going to be as strong. The bags we don't use, I'll give to the neighbor. Now, excuse me while I go change my hat. It's hot. You don't want the bags to be too heavy. It means there's probably only leaves in there, not wood and roots and soil. If it's really heavy, I just avoid it. I lost my gloves. Maybe I left them inside. Move the leaves pretty thick because they're going to break down. Don't put a thin layer. Now we're going to push them in around amongst the plants. These are plants that have gotten pretty big, but be careful with your little baby transplants. You don't want them to drown in the leaves. You can always come back later when they're bigger and scoot the leaves around them. I like doing a few bags at a time. In the past, I let them pile up in the garage, and oh my goodness, this is a much better way for me. Just a few as I finish them. What's left over that I don't use in the garden, I'll donate to the community. Avoid bags with vines. They're not going to break down. And use your gloves because you never know what's in these bags. There could be glass or metal or trash. It's a risk, but I think it's worth it. And let me show you these leaves. They're old and they've been in this bag a long time. They kind of stick together, so be careful. These aren't good around the small plants. But these little leaves, these are perfect. They're not going to drown those baby plants. Now it's possible to get poison ivy in one of the bags. It's a risk, but it's never happened to me. But let me show you something I found. See here? Can you see this? It tells me it might have been a vine that was stuck on a tree. Was it poison ivy? Ivy, not ivy. But it's important to wear gloves for that reason. Even dead poison ivy leaves will cause an allergic reaction. Sometimes you find cool things in bags. One year I found 3 live geraniums. You just never know. Look over there. Found my gloves. Now we're going to do this narrow area, so we're going to look for the smallest leaves. And these are going to be perfect. They're really tiny. They're going to be perfect for this strip that's near the strawberry plants. These are about medium size. Looks really good. There's one more area way at the back. So let's fold up these bags, cover a little bit of that ground, then go get some more leaves from the garage, and then we're going to put the net back on. Now let's review. Fall is the best time, but spring works too, to cover your garden in cardboard. Make sure you overlap them so the weeds don't grow through. If you use wood chips, you don't have to secure the cardboard because the wood chips are going to be heavy enough to hold it in place. But because I like to use leaves and do it a little bit at a time, I use the pins to keep the cardboard down. Then you're going to put down the Sluggo because slugs and pill bugs love that moist environment and they like the place to hide. It doesn't matter if you mulch with leaves, hay, straw, wood chips, they're going to hide and chew down your baby plants. After that, a thick layer of fall leaves. I've used hay, I've used straw, but they get slimy real easily. For many years, I bought bags and bags of just basic mulch from Walmart. But even though I bought the cheapest, the price, it adds up. So my favorite way for many years has been collecting free fall leaves. One reason is because of all the colors they come in. It means they have a variety of nutrients that feed the soil. Because all that stuff is going to break down. Your soil's alive. Worms also love the cardboard. They're going to break down anything that's underneath it. And that fooled me. It's full of vines. It was a top layer of leaves blocking it. And put them in the compost. Let's check out this new bag. Those vines weren't too thick. It was just English ivy. I'll chop them another time. That was much better. These are very old leaves. Already starting to mold. And that's okay. That's normal. They'll just break down faster. It was mixed with some dirt, but that's okay too. I saw some kind of leaf disease, but it was oak leaves, and we don't have any oak trees in this area. These are the last 3 bags. We're going to fold them and then stack them up in the garage to share with the community. Now, one of the big benefits of sheet mulching with cardboard covered with some kind of mulch is it holds moisture. I really don't water my garden. I water my baby transplants until they get established. I do have to water my blueberry bushes. And this summer I had to water my strawberries, but strawberries aren't covered with cardboard because they're year-round perennials. They go dormant. They go to sleep in the winter. You can't cover them with cardboard. So they don't hold as much moisture as the rest of the garden. But the rest of the garden, I just don't water it. Another benefit is it's going to build soil. These leaves over winter, they're going to break down, and in the spring and the summer, they'll break down some more. And next fall, I'll just cover it all up with another layer of cardboard. There's also going to be some chopped up plants under there. You don't have to move your old mulch, you just put the cardboard on top and it's going to build soil. Now my neighbors, now you see how narrow this is? Here's one fence and you've seen the other fence. This is a very narrow garden. My soil is a good foot taller than my neighbors. It's because I've been trying to remember, I've been doing this for either 10 or 11 years. And it's been building the soil. That's another big benefit. Now, why am I putting the nets back on? Well, for 2 reasons. One, we still have insects around, so it's going to protect them. And 2, it's going to help hold the leaves in place. That's the negative about leaves. They're so light the wind will just blow them into the fence or over into my neighbor's yard. So the netting's going to hold the leaves in place. Now there aren't any plants in this row, but I'm still going to cover it to help hold the leaves. And then it'll be all ready to go in the spring. You see that? That's where the skunk was sneaking in and sleeping in the garage. One day I came in and I saw this tail, and it was all curled up, sleeping like a cat. That's why I always say, remember to close the door because the skunk will sleep inside. That's about 1/4 of the garden mulched. Good afternoon. Welcome to our garden. Now tomorrow morning after the sun comes up, we're going to get busy in the front garden, laying cardboard and covering it with mulch. It's going to be an all-day event. But let's take the opportunity right now to get our supplies and look at what we need to do to get ready. So come on. For 2 years in a row, the cardinals have laid their second hatching of eggs here. It's been really cute. The mulch is all ready to go. Ooh, I'm excited. The Baker Creek seeds arrived. Now I'm putting the supplies up here overnight because this is a really busy pedestrian street. And they're pretty good about not bothering things, but I don't want to risk things getting stolen. Let's see if that stays. Ooh, barely made it through. Now we're going to mulch this area here. But first, let's evaluate what we need to do today to prepare. Like, are there any strawberries that we're going to need to move? Because we're only leaving strawberries along the edge. So 2 guys just stopped to talk to me. So let's put our evaluation on hold, and I want to encourage you. So down the street is the Mission, where they serve some of the meals and have a daytime shelter. And up the street is the Community Action Agency, where they have other meals. So every day the homeless walk up and down this street. And the overnight shelter, it's back there a couple of streets over. Often they stop and they talk with me and they share their memories. You can see they've had a rough life, lots of drug addiction and alcohol and mental illness, various reasons that they're homeless. But most of them have a story. And they'll say, oh, Grandma had a garden, or Mama had a garden. And they're thinking of better times, and they enjoy discussing it with me. These 2 guys came by and said, yeah, Mom and Dad have a 50-acre farm. You know, I don't know the situation, why he's not with his parents. Obviously, it's not a good situation, but he was sharing his memories. So please, always find a way to be kind. And you never know how your actions are going to impact people in a positive way. Many of them call this their garden. It's sweet and it always touches me. Okay, back to figuring out what we need to do today. So I don't see any strawberries in the middle. Just here along the edges. Ooh, look at this. So we're going to leave the strawberries on around the edges, and I can't believe we still have strawberries in November. These are ever-bearing strawberries that I bought this year. They were bare roots, and they've done fabulous. I need to look back where I bought them, and I'll add a link in the description. I've really been pleased with them. Now that fennel, I'm going to pull it out and plant it new every year because it would just get too big for this space. I plant it for the butterflies and the caterpillars, the swallowtails. This year we didn't have very many, but this is a host plant for the caterpillars. I already cut this down, but it's been growing back. Now, we had sunflowers here this summer. They were really tall, all different colors, but they died a long time ago, and I've already cut them down. And there were zinnias all in this area that I've already cut down a lot of.
We got about 3 plants left. I'm going to chop and drop them tomorrow, and I'm going to leave them in place to break down. So I've already moved all the strawberries that were in the middle here in August, and all I have left is on the edge. All those other little things that have popped up and are growing, I'll just leave them because I'm going to cover them with cardboard that's going to block them from growing next year. Now, all along here are straw flowers, and I'm going to leave those for 2 reasons. One, the bees are still loving them. And 2, because in front of the straw flowers, I have bulbs. And I don't want to cover those with cardboard. If I cover them with cardboard, they won't be able to grow in the spring. So the straw flowers are going to help me remember where to stop the cardboard. I have daffodils in the front. They're going to bloom first, and then we'll have tulips. That's going to be in the spring. You see all those busy bees? Now, I grew straw flowers last year because I wanted to dry them for winter and have them in the house. But unfortunately, I'm allergic to them, and I didn't expect that. So I can't have them in the house with me. So what I did is I dried them in the garage and put them in glass jars to be able to enjoy the color. So we're going to harvest some today. Now this is the best way when it's still closed. But don't collect ones that look like this, or that are browning in the middle. They're just going to explode in your house or your garage. Now, if you want to save seeds for next year, then look for some that look like this, or, let me see. Or this one. Can you see the seeds on there? But I already have enough. I've already saved my seeds for next year. So let's collect some more to dry. A lot of the white ones had already blown open, but I got a few. I'm going to leave these in the garage to dry. I decided to go ahead and harvest the fennel leaves, and I saw a little bit of mint. And I think I'm going to take these beautiful zinnias and display them in the house. But I'm going to use gloves because my hands smell like those straw flowers, and I don't want that smell in the house. That smells good. trying to shake out these dry leaves. Those flowers look good, but all these other ones are just all shriveled up. Now, if you want to save zinnia seeds, it's easy. Well, let me find a dry one. Let me find a bigger one. That'd be better. Now, summer's the best time because the seeds are going to be fully developed. Many of these aren't fully developed, but it'll give you an idea. Now, the bottom row develop first. See the seed? This one's still green, but in the summer, find a dried up flower and the seed should be brown. Save it for next year, but you got to get them before the birds gobble them up. I don't mind, though, sharing with the finch. They love zinnia seeds. I've already saved my zinnia seeds for next year. Pretty good harvest. That's enough the last time to enjoy in the house. Now I mentioned chop and drop. What's that? It's simple. Old plants, like these zinnias, for example, you just chop and drop it and leave it there. Tomorrow, I'll just lay cardboard on top of it. And under the cardboard, it'll break down throughout the winter, spring, and summer. It'll become new soil. And how does that happen? It's because your soil is alive. There's so many living organisms in there. And they feed on that. They feed on the plant matter. And worms, my soil is full of worms. They love cardboard. My favorite way to compost is chop and drop. If I could, I'd chop and drop all my plants, but I'm just not able to. My hands don't have that ability. I do manage arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. So I can't do it in the whole garden, but I am going to do it with these remaining plants here in the front and feed my soil. The smaller you chop them, the faster they'll break down. I made a small little pile. Now let's harvest the mint, and then we're going to bring everything inside before it wilts. Found two strawberries hiding. I left the straw flowers way over there, so I don't smell them every time I come in here and it bother me. We're going to go take care of the flowers, mint, and fennel, and check the time to see if we can get back in the front and chop some more. Take care of all that after I shower. I don't have any more time to go back in the front. I need to shower because of my straw flower allergy. So I'll be ready when Dale gets off work soon and we can have dinner together. So tomorrow I'll go back out there. Thank you for visiting our garden. See you later. Bye-bye. Oops, I forgot something. Come on. Remember to close the door because the skunk will sleep inside. Now we're done. Come back next time and we're gonna sheet mulch the front. Good morning. Welcome to our grow room. Today, before breakfast, I think we have time to plant lettuce. I'm going to show you what kind of seeds we're going to plant. Here's where I store my seeds. I don't keep them in the refrigerator. Now this room is going to get warm during winter, but for the last 10 years, this has worked well for me. I do like to store them in little glass jars. Now, my top lettuce here in north central Maryland that I've saved from my own seeds for the last 11 or 12 years is red oak leaf lettuce. I bought these seeds a long time ago from Botanical Interests. That's what was carried by my local nursery. They have a huge display of those seeds. This has been my most successful lettuce through the years. But I have some other varieties. Black-seeded Simpson lettuce. Now, the red oak leaf is a mixture of seeds I've saved through the years. The black Simpson seeded is fresh this year. The other one has fresh seeds added too. There's butter lettuce. And when you order from Baker Creek, you often get a free packet of seeds. And many times that's a lettuce mix. So this is a mixture of those seeds. And it's a variety of seeds. That's how I got the black-seeded Simpson and the butter lettuce from that seed mix from Baker Creek. Now this one, I'm not sure what variety this is. It has these red leaves. Now that we have the seeds, let's go get the other supplies. collected the gloves, the seeds, the soil blocker. We have our water, soil, and I like to use ProMix compressed soil. It stores best for me. Yeah, we have the water and we have the tags. Labeling those, that's important so we know what kind. Oh, and trays and a lid. Now first we're going to have to mix up the soil with water. You want the soil for the soil blocker where it'll hold its shape, but it's not too wet. So the soil, it's compressed, so you're going to have to break it up first. I don't want to make too much because if I leave wet soil in the bucket, then I use it later, it's more easy for it to grow green algae. I have about a third of the bucket, right up to here. Now let's add the water and mix it up. It's going to take a lot of water because this soil is really dry. Make sure you get down there around the bottom, around the edges where it gets stuck. Really mix it in well. Let me show you what I have now. See? Here's what it looks like. When you squeeze it, you don't want it to be dripping really bad. Let me show you under the light where you can see better. Now, I live with arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and that makes using this soil blocker in the normal way a challenge for me. Normally, you're just going to press it down into the soil over and over again until it's really full. But that flares up my neck, shoulder, and my hands, so I have a different way. So my hack is, don't press it down, turn it upside down and fill it, press in the soil until it's really full. Then push it into the tray. So come on, let's make, I don't really remember how many it holds, but let's make some more. Hang on a second. See me better? Now I was stubborn. Comfortable you can fit 4, but I wanted to fit 5 because we have 5 varieties of lettuce. Here, let me show you. It's better under the light. It's the beginning of November, the 7th, no, it's the 8th. So why am I planting lettuce now? If you watched our most recent video, I talked about how the last 2 or 3 winters, our ground is never fully frozen. So I want to be prepared if I can keep planting lettuce. I will be covering it with a low tunnel fleece, protects it from the cold. So I want to be prepared. And if I can't, then I want to learn how to grow it inside here in the basement. Now this is the furnace room, and right now the furnace isn't running because yesterday it was almost 80 degrees. I mean, crazy. But later it'll be running full time and this room will stay warm. So the lettuce might not grow too well in here. I'm going to get a thermometer to test the temperature, but I have another room down there at the other end of the basement that we use as a home gym that stays cold. So I thought I could set up a grow light in there and try to grow some lettuce. So we're going to experiment inside growing lettuce, because I only use this room for starting seeds and taking care of transplants until I put them outside. I don't use it for year-round growing and harvesting, but we're going to experiment together. Now I've saved a variety of tags. Some I've even cut up from old food containers. I don't use these outside, just here in the grow room to know what, these little seedlings are. So here's the varieties I've saved over the years. Sometimes you even get them free when you buy pots. You can clean them off with alcohol. Or, I did find 2 from the spring that were marked for lettuce. I've learned if you don't mark your vegetables first, Then later you don't know what you have. I'm pretty good at recognizing the leaves, but it's still good practice. So first we're going to mark our tags and we'll be ready to plant. I tend to put 3 seeds per hole. Then after they grow, I'll save the one that looks the best and trim out the other ones. Be careful pulling them out because all 3 might come out together. But let's start with 3 seeds. Now if more than 3 fall in, that's fine. If you notice, my saved seeds still have some fuzz on them. I don't perfectly clean my seeds, and this isn't going to hurt the seeds. Just make sure there's not any mold. Now this is the most recent seed that I saved, and I hadn't yet separated it from the fuzzy part. So let's do that now. Now, so we've planted our lettuce mix from Baker Creek. We've planted our black-seeded Simpson. That's a really tight, strong-headed lettuce with kind of frilly leaves. We planted our butter lettuce, which is soft. You tend to bite in a clamshell. It's really delicious. And we planted our unknown red leaf from the mix. It has small leaves. Well, I say it has small. I tend to harvest it small, but it is possible it might be a romaine. Now the last, my top lettuce mix, is my red oak leaf that I've been saving for 11 or 12 years. Now many people just leave it like this and water it. But I like to cover with just a little bit of soil to make those really good moisture contact with the seeds. The soil's already moist, so I'm not going to water. Just going to cover it with the lid. It's not going to be a perfect fit, but that's fine. We just want it to hold in the moisture. I'm going to go ahead and leave the light on the timer. It doesn't really need the light to germinate, but once it does come up, I want the light ready. One negative about leaving the light on from the very beginning is it'll increase the amount of algae that you might grow on top. But that's not going to hurt the plants. The timer's set for either 12 or 14 hours. And we'll come back and check on them, see if they've germinated. Should only take a few days. These seeds are really fresh. Now next time we are going to be mulching the front garden. First we need to chop and drop the old plants, which is my favorite way to compost. Then we're going to be laying down cardboard and topping that with wood mulch. Now in the back garden, and it'll be ready for spring. But in the back garden, we use leaves, which isn't going to work in the front because we live on a busy street. We live downtown. And those leaves would blow all over the place, into the street and over into the neighbor's yard, because the front is a very small space. I already ordered the mulch. It arrived yesterday and we're all ready. Good morning and welcome back to our garden. Like most of you, the weather's been crazy up and down. We've had our first frost and several hard freezes. Now along the side of the house, it's more protected. But today we need to take care of our green stalk planters. I want to protect those plants, so come on, let's collect our supplies. Do you see that the fall veggies are just loving this weather and doing great? The kale, the lettuce, the carrots, just everything. Now last night we had a heavy frost, and here on the side of the house where it's more protected, it stayed warmer and it didn't frost, but 26-degree weather is coming and we're going to have more nights below freezing. Some of these plants can live throughout the winter. They'll go dormant, like they're asleep. But this area can get really windy right here. It's like a little wind tunnel. And because these planters are tall, the plants can get damaged. And because I don't water in the winter, I depend on the rain and the snow for the moisture. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Now I use my green stalks in a different way than normally they're used. See how narrow and tall it is here? And there's windows way up there so we can look down. And I want to have plants growing out the top. I don't want to see that water reserve. We also have window ACs because this is an old house. And when they're running in the summer, the condensation drips out, and I catch that water in a hose, and that's how I water the green stalks. City water here is expensive, so I use rainwater or AC water. Now my neighbor's really close, and I want this area to look beautiful for them. This area also gets a lot less sun. So for the winter, I'm going to unstack the green stalks and put them along the ground so they can catch the moisture from the rain and snow and get more sun. And I'm going to protect them with some hoops and some fleece. I'm going to have to open and close them during the day. But I'm also going to put some netting because the squirrels are going to dig in them. Check out the supplies because we need to collect all of these summer decorations. We're going to store them in the garage for winter. The rain, snow, and ice will just destroy them. And a lot of these have some really good memories, and I want them protected. A lot of these we made with the green kids. Next year, Dale will put a new clear coat on them to help protect them. He is very creative. One year he made this for me. That's what he calls this area because the bees just travel back and forth. It's like a bee highway. We're going to move all these shelves in the garage too. Let's go back and unstack the green stalk. But first, we haven't yet fed the birds and the squirrels. We love our birds and squirrels. Oops. Now maybe you notice as I took them apart, I don't have those gray water discs that are in between. I don't use those. When I water, I like the water to spread around more evenly. Now if these were set up in the full sun, I definitely would use them the traditional way. But here along the side of the house, they don't dry out real fast. Now I need to trim this creeping Jenny. It's gotten really long this summer, And I don't want it touching the ground over winter because I feel like that area will freeze. I will make sure that I compost the trimmings. See, the AC has these blue tubes. That's how we save the water in the summer. It's not running right now. We're going to take him out really soon. But last week, it was almost 80 degrees. Unbelievable. Now, the creeping Jenny can survive the winter, but it's a little more fragile. So I kind of scooch it around to the inside. The base is on the wheel. I'm going to put that first because it's a little bit taller. So the hoops, I think, will just kind of fit better, having a taller one first and last. Rain barrel's still full. It's not even connected to the roof. It's just filled up naturally by the rain. I want to empty it out because I need to move it. It's blocking the planters. And if I scooted it out in front of it, we wouldn't be able to get the trash and the recycling through. Yeah, I can see now we're going to need this space. So I'm going to have to move all this furniture. I was hoping I wasn't going to have to move it today, but oh well. Let's collect all this debris. Let's check on the water. Now the water's running so slow because the spigot that it comes with, I've never replaced. This one is like a twisting action, and it's better to replace it with like a lever. It gives you more pressure. I never did change that one. I've got other rain barrels at the back, and I switched out all those spigots. I'll put a link for the better one there. Let's go ahead and water some of these planters. I've got 2 more green stalks to trim. Now these aren't going to grow in the winter, but next summer, spring and summer, they're going to really take off again. Now, what else are we growing in the green stalks? Well, they all have strawberries. And all of these too. Now, this summer, the strawberries out in the back garden were really suffering, so I transplanted a bunch of them into the green stalks in August. We also have pansies all along here and in all of these tiers. We also have herbs. That's all Greek oregano, my favorite. Now here we have rosemary, but it's a special kind. It's a trailing rosemary. Just have one, but in the spring I'm going to order 3 more, so we have 4 altogether. Each level will have one. So there's the rosemary, and we need some there, and there. And here's the thyme. If you noticed, I like to plant my green stalks on a spiral, a diagonal. I don't like the look when you plant the same things in each tier. I like it to have more of a flowing look, down and cascading around. That's my style. Now the last one here is sage, and it's going to get big and totally take over this level. So I keep it trimmed. I don't need 4 sages, so next year I've got 3 empty pockets, and I'm just going to pick a variety of herbs to put in there. So I measured where I'm going to put the planters after the water barrel's moved. So let's go ahead and work on the last 4, then we can go back and work on the middle. But first we need to move all this stuff. It's going to be 10 o'clock soon, and living here in downtown for Veterans Day, they do something called relay taps. I think that's what it's called, relay. They're going to start taps in one location, and then they're going to just kind of leapfrog. And if we can hear it here, I'll record it for you. We won't be able to see it, but maybe we can hear it. Two of those levels were very dry, so one benefit of unstacking them is they'll have better access to the rain. Now I do hear the church bells. I don't think you can hear it, but I can. Now the rain barrel's almost empty, so I'm going to go ahead and sweep more, and I'll check back with you soon. Now here is a bird's nest. The cardinals for 2 years in a row in this area have built a nest for their second hatching of eggs. They tend to have 2 or 3 chicks. It's been really cute. And this just fell down naturally. They won't reuse the nest. They're going to build a new one every year. I think the water barrel's light enough now that I can move it. So let's give it a try. I am going to move these cinder blocks. I don't really want them pressing against the wall. but I'll put them close to the wall. There's no reason to put them in the garage because we're going to use them again next year. But I definitely want to use my gloves. I have to play with it, make sure we can get the trash and the recycling through and not trip. Now let's lay on the fleece and get it easier and ready to put over tonight. Now that one wasn't long enough. It's a different size than the netting. So let's go get a second one. Now I secured the ends with a zip tie. And weight it down with a sandbag. That's perfect. Double protection, that'll be okay. Now these sandbags are filled with broken bricks. And we're going to weight it down behind on top of the fleece. I did have to move the cinder block so I could walk through there. Okay, it's lunchtime. And when I come back, then I'll clean up all the other stuff. Now check back for an update on how this is doing. Check our shorts or our Facebook and Instagram reel. That's where I'll post the update. Good frosty morning. Welcome back to our garden. Today we need to keep working in the front. We're going to be chopping and dropping the old plants. But first, let's go collect all the supplies. Most we left in the front on the porch, but there's a few we need to get from the garage, so come on. Now let's see how the straw flowers are drying that we harvested. Those are looking really good. And none of them have exploded into puffballs. First, let's go ahead and feed the birds and the squirrels. Now last night it got down to 26 degrees. It was cold. So yesterday we took the green stalk planters along the side of the house and unstacked them, put them on the ground, and put them to bed for the winter to protect them from the cold. So we put the front garden work on hold to work on this. I'll post the video of that after we do the front garden series. Now when the sun starts peeking around this corner, we'll uncover them so that they get the light and the warmth. Now the goal today is to chop and drop the old plants, and we're going to leave them there to compost in place over winter. So 2 days ago it was raining. And 3 days ago, we prepped the front. But now we're going to get back to work on it. First, I want to pull up all these stakes. I used them to support the plants. And we're going to pull up these rings. I use those to protect baby plants from me stepping on them. So we're going to put all this stuff in the wagon first. This one's stuck. We'll have to go back and cut it because the zinnias grew all back through it. Now you're going to notice all these green posts that I've left in the ground. This is because our neighbor warned us that this young man was running and jumping over this little fence every day. So I put those stakes there because I don't want him to hurt himself or to ruin our plants. Now we're going to leave all these because the straw flowers, they're still alive. They're still producing flowers. we still have strawberries. It's because this is the warmest spot. It gets a lot of sun, and I think those bricks are holding the heat too. We actually picked a fully ripe one this morning. I'm really happy with this brand. I'm going to put it down in the description. I'll put a link. Now this part's really thick. It's really hard to cut. And I could use my big old loppers, but I really don't have the time or energy for that. So I have a compost pile behind there that I'm going to use. It's just going to compost in place. That's where I put all the sunflowers that grew along here this summer. I found one that was hiding. Now this is going to compost real slowly. I don't turn it or anything. I just leave it. And that soil becomes really rich in that area. Dry okra seeds. They are so easy to save, but I already have plenty in the house. The okra grows really well right here. It gets the most sun. But it's been done a long time ago. Here in north central Maryland, okra is a challenge for me to grow, but I can't find good fresh okra here. And the frozen kind is just lousy, so I have to grow it myself.
Good morning.
Now our plan is to chop and drop the old plants in place and then cover everything with cardboard. The old plants and the old mulch, they'll just break down underneath and become rich new soil. Now if you notice, the strawberries grow along the edge because I can't cover them with the cardboard. They come back every year, but if you block them, they're not going to regrow. So I take the cardboard right up to the edge of them, and I leave that place open. And that next year will also help them retain moisture. I found a small baby okra. I almost didn't see it. And some trash. When you live in an urban downtown setting like we do, trash is going to blow in. Now, if you've noticed all the weeds in the volunteer plants like this, now remember, since we're going to sheet mulch this with cardboard, they're not going to grow again next year. So I'm not going to take the time to pull them out. I'm just going to leave them and they're going to break down. Now this very front part, I'm not going to cover with cardboard because remember, we have spring flowering bulbs and we can't block it so they grow in the spring. But I am going to weed this area. Yeah, that looks much better. Now there's a lot of strawberry runners, and some of the strawberries are really full. I'll trim those runners. But some of the areas are really thin and I want more plants to grow. So I'm going to go ahead and pin down those runners. November too. Now there are ever-bearing strawberries along this front edge. They're going to produce fruit all summer until it gets too cold. They're new this year, and I'm really pleased with how fabulous these have done. Now up here close to the stairs, there are the traditional June bearing strawberries. They tend to fruit from May to June, and then they're done. These right here. This is what we have in the back garden. Now later, I want to train the runners from the everbearing to run all the way up to the stairs and replace those June bearing. I really like those everbearing. They produce less and supposedly smaller fruit, but for a longer period of time. Now we're going to leave most things on the porch when we come back tomorrow to get to work and lay down the cardboard. And we're going to keep it in place with pins. Storage space is always a challenge. What do I always say? Remember to close the garage door because the skunk will sleep inside. See here? You see those holes? The squirrel's been digging. And that's why we had to protect the garlic that we just planted. So we've already prepped the front garden. We harvested a few things, some fennel, some mint, and all those straw flowers. Then today we chopped and dropped the old plants. Now there's a lot of plants that I pulled a long time ago. It was really full of zinnias that we enjoyed all summer. And planted amongst everything was ginger, and we harvested that too. But the few things left we chopped and dropped today to let them compost in place. And tomorrow we're going to go back and we're going to sheet mulch it and lay down the cardboard. And day after tomorrow, we'll put down the mulch. Now here in the back garden, we're using leaves for mulch. But in the front, being a busy street with a lot of traffic, I don't want the leaves to blow in the street and cause problems. So I bought bags of wood mulch. This is the secret to my success of growing a lot in a very small space with very limited watering. Sheet mulching in the fall with cardboard, cover with mulch, either leaves or wood chips, straw or hay. That is really what allows me to grow so much in this small area. I've been doing it for about 11 years now. Good morning and welcome back to our garden. Today we're going to finish mulching the front with wood mulch. But first we need to feed the birds and the squirrels, dump out the kitchen compost, and get the wagon. So come on and help me. I need to bring this back and dump it in the compost. Now it's the third week of November, and Thanksgiving is next week in 5 days. And I'm ready to get this front finished mulching. But first, let's harvest some strawberries, which we're still getting in November, and deadhead the straw flower. So hopefully more will grow. I think those need a little bit more time, maybe tonight or tomorrow morning. Let's go ahead and deadhead the straw flowers. The bees are still loving these. Now we're going to cut any that have brown centers because the bees really don't use those. But I got to use some gloves because unfortunately I'm allergic to these. That looks much better. There aren't any bees out today because it's cloudy and windy, and they really like the sun. Now, if you've been watching our videos, you know my favorite way to compost is just chop and drop the old plants. But since we've already laid down the cardboard, I don't want the seeds from these straw flowers germinating in the mulch next year. So we're going to dump these in the compost in the back garden. Now, in our most recent video, we laid down the cardboard and secured it in place with our landscape pins. And today, we're going to take the wood mulch that we bought at Home Depot and put a nice thick layer on top. But you could use leaves, hay, straw, grass clippings, or any organic matter that's going to break down. Still need these gloves. I went about 4 to 6 inches. Now, why did I lay down that cardboard? Well, to block weeds, hold moisture, and the worms love it. Any old plants and old mulch underneath just breaks down into rich new soil. Every fall, I put a fresh layer of cardboard and a fresh layer of mulch. Now we're not going to sheet mulch with cardboard this front area because this is where we have our spring bulbs, our daffodils and our tulips. And if we covered this with cardboard, they wouldn't be able to come up in the spring. But I still do want to mulch it. Now we're going to have a lot of our summer flowers have dropped their seeds here, and in the spring, volunteers are going to grow. So what I like to do is dig those up, put them into pots, let them root for a couple of weeks, and then give them away free to my community. Okay, so here's an example. This is a marigold that volunteered. So in the spring, if this was the spring, I would transplant this into a pot, let it develop roots, and then give it away to the community. We're not going to do that now because being winter, it's not going to survive. That looks much better. It feels good to have finished the front. Now we're mulching the back garden with leaves, but here in the front with this busy street, you've noticed all the traffic. The leaves would just blow and cause problems. So in the front, I wanted to buy wood mulch. And also, I think it makes it look prettier. We've got 2 bags left, so that means it took about 10 bags, but I did put it on really thick. Now let's clean up the porch for the winter and store everything in the garage. That looks much better. We'll move the chairs later. Remember, close the garage door because the skunk will sleep inside. Now in the next video, you're going to see me winterizing the green stalk. You've been seeing it as we walk past because last week it got down to the 20s, about 27, 28 degrees, and I had to take care of it. So I went ahead and unstacked it and covered it with fleece. But that's going to be the next video. After that, we're going to get back to working on the back garden, mulching it with leaves. Good morning. Welcome to our garden. Today, we're going to plant garlic. But first, let's gather the supplies. So come on. And we're going to plant it right in this area. But first, we need to clear off these things. Now, I used to have strawberries in this area, but about mid-August, it was so dry because the whole garden season starting in February was the driest year since 1999. And the strawberries right here in the middle really suffered. So I transplanted them over to the edge where the strawberries do best. It seems to hold water better. So let's take advantage of that and plant the garlic here. Now, garlic grows from cloves, like this one, not from seed. So that means that they are a clone. They're a copy of the parent plant. Bigger ones are said to grow bigger heads. That's what that whole clump of garlic is called a head. And smaller ones are said to grow smaller heads. Now in August, when I moved the strawberries, I went ahead and sheet mulched this area with cardboard and wood mulch. But I didn't put it on real thick because I wasn't planning to do it, so I didn't have enough. So I'd planned today to go ahead, hang on, where's my tool? And take this dibber and punch it through the cardboard, and it should have been fine to plant the garlic. But I noticed squirrels have been digging, destroying the cardboard. So let's go ahead and pull it up. Most of it's broken down anyway. I only have 32 cloves, so I don't need this whole area. I'm going to go ahead and separate the big cloves and the small cloves, and we can compare what size heads we get. I do plan to use them all. Now here, we plant our garlic mid-October to mid-November. So October 15th to November 15th. Today is November 6th, so this is the perfect time. At the end of October, it was in the 80s, which is just insane. That's why these garlic have started to sprout, because they were in the garage. So let's go ahead and get them in the ground. You saw that's about how far apart I planted them, about 3 inches. Now this tool is called a dibber. It's really popular in England. I really like it. I use it a lot. Now you're going to put it root side down. It's this little flat part. See? Right there? How flat that is? And then the pointy end goes up, like right here. See, here's one that's already sprouted up. You don't have to plant them really deep. So make your hole about that deep, because some of the soil is going to kind of fall back in. And really, you just want to plant it right under the top of the soil, right below the soil. Now the squirrels can be tempted to dig in this nice soft soil. They're not wanting to eat the garlic. They're just wanting to use that soft soil. So we got to protect this. Let's go get the dome. That's a perfect fit. Now I don't recommend this brand. A brick tore it really easy this summer. But there's another brand that I would prefer. Let me show it to you. This one. This is smaller, but this is so strong. I bought it because it gave some strawberry plants to our neighbor's little boy, and I didn't want the squirrels stealing his strawberries. So this came with 2, and I gave him 1, and I kept 1. It's really strong, and the brand is, look, right here. NUVUE. I highly recommend it. I wish I had bought that in the big size. I bought that big one first. Now, it's not cheap, but neither was that other one. If you want something that stores easily, because this stores flat. Now, I did have to put these rods in there. But if you have the money and you want something that stores easy, I highly recommend this brand. Now let's hammer in some stakes, some landscape staples to hold this in place. Now it came with 4 of these stakes, and the other brand came with 4 much better quality than this. But I prefer to use these landscape staples. I found it works best if I put 2 in the corners and 1 in the middle. So that needs 12. That's what works best for me. And these holes look small, but I was surprised this summer that little baby birds, they could get through it. The baby finch could, but then they couldn't figure out how to get back out. It's another reason I like that other brand better. Oh, I was wrong. It comes with 8 tent stakes. I don't plan to water. I'm just going to let the rain take care of it. Now, if the soil had been bare, I would have added mulch. But it already has mulch in that area. Now the next 2 weeks, it's not going to drop below 30. Most days it's going to warm up. Like today it's in the 60s. So if the garlic shoots up above the ground, I'll come back and mulch it with some tiny leaves. And I've already mulched 1/4 of the garden in leaves if you haven't seen it yet. Here, look. My husband Dale, he's been busy collecting bags of leaves for me. We now have a mountain. I have 3/4 more of the garden to cover. Tomorrow I'm going to work in the front garden, and I'm going to use wood mulch. Because in the front, those leaves will just blow into the busy street. Now remember, close the door because the skunk will sleep inside. This must be a microclimate. These petunias survived several nights in the 20s. And these raspberries have some new flower buds. I'm not even sure there's enough bees around to pollinate them. So we'll see what happens. I guess Dale's been painting. Good morning and welcome back to our garden. Today we're going to keep working on mulching with leaves over in that area near the raspberries. But first, let's feed the birds and the squirrels, compost the kitchen scraps, and collect the supplies. Come on and help me. Now we're going to work in this area. Any old plants, we're going to go ahead and pull them up and just leave them in place and put the cardboard over the top. Anything we want to save, like the lettuce, we need to be careful not to touch them right now because we're right at freezing. And if I bother these leaves, it's going to damage them. But they'll be fine. They can survive freezing temperatures. I just need to be careful. First, we need to remove all these things so we can lay down the cardboard and pull up these old plants. Now here's where all the lettuce is. I need to be careful not to touch that or the cabbage. I'm going to work around these things. So the cardboard's a weed barrier. That's the reason I just left the weeds underneath, because they'll break down into new rich soil. But try to overlap the cardboard. Any gaps, try to cover those up, because the weeds are going to poke through those. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. Now those really tiny leaves are good for the small plants like that lettuce along the edge. So I'm going to scoot some of that around those in the front and try not to drown them. You know, you're going to find sticks in the bags of leaves. Other things too, like there's some old peppers in there. I'm just going to put them in the compost. They'll eventually break down. Now I'm going to add some hoops to protect these lettuces and cabbages from the really cold 21-degree weather that's coming. See the cabbage back there? I want to try to protect it, hoping it'll survive the winter, and then in the spring, it'll send up a flower head and develop some seeds. I really want to try saving my own cabbage seeds. So our little hoop tunnel might be a little crooked because I need to protect that cabbage, but then the lettuce is more closer to the edge. So it's probably not going to be a straight hoop tunnel. I need this dibber to help poke through the cardboard. Now we're going to add this netting to help hold the leaves in place and so they don't blow away. Normally I use the netting to protect it from squirrels digging, but all of these lettuces and cabbages are surrounded by hardware cloth wire, so they can't dig them up. So we're going to use the netting to keep the leaves in place. I'm not sure this one is long enough. Let's see. Let's go look for some more. Ooh, we can use that one. Let's pull that up. This net was to protect the squirrels from digging up the spring bulbs I planted back in October. But we can take up that netting and put some fall leaves on there, and hopefully the squirrels won't be digging in that soil. They're not after the bulbs. They're just after a place to bury their nuts. It's dirty, but it'll work. Has some holes, but I really don't need it to protect from any insects, just from the wind. Now we need to put the fleece behind it, and we're going to cover it to kind of fit it in place, and then we'll open it back up because tonight's above freezing. It's best to open up your fleece tunnels over your fall vegetables when your temperatures are above freezing. It cuts down on plant diseases. While I'm thinking about it, let's go open the green stalk. I forgot to open it yesterday. Tonight's going to be above freezing, so we're going to leave that open. Now remember yesterday we had that fleece with a big piece of black tape because last year it ripped, and we cut that piece off and made it shorter? This is that piece. It's a perfect fit. So we're going to open it, and then we need to put some weights on it. So let's go get some sandbags and put in some old bricks inside of them. Now the brick won't tear that netting or the fleece. I don't buy sand. I just use whatever I have around here. Let's make 8. So we need to go in way down the netting. And we need to put leaves on the bulbs before we forget, because the squirrels will dig in there. We need to clean up because it's almost time to cook lunch. Now tomorrow, we're going to mulch the last fourth of the garden. We've already laid down all the cardboard. We just need to add the leaves. Then there's a few more jobs, like we need to trim and tie up the blackberries and the raspberries. We see if there's any like runners at the bottom where I don't want them to be. Then behind the blackberries, we need to lay down cardboard, but we need to kind of put it up and block some of the fence so the leaves don't go blow into the neighbor's yard because it'll kill their grass. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We need to lay cardboard down and mulch back there. We still have 2 sunflowers we need to cut down. We have the grapevine we need to take care of. Now, last year during the summer, it was out of control, and I pruned it too much. So this year, it didn't fruit much. So I need to do some reading, figure out what do I need to do it this year. We don't eat the grapes, but the birds love them. We also need to clean up any garden decorations because the winter snow will ruin them. And the bird feeder needs to be fixed. The little socks on it have holes. So there's plenty to keep us busy in the fall and winter garden. It was a good time to pull that up because those bricks were becoming frozen to the netting. So I'm happy we did that today. Come on, let's go get some leaves. Now, I don't think the squirrels are going to dig through that. Now remember, close the garage door because the skunk will sleep inside. Tomorrow we're going to work on this area, laying down our leaves. It's good to be almost finished. Let me know what's going on in your garden. Good afternoon. Welcome back to our garden. Today we're going to mulch this area with leaves. Now this morning I went in the garage and I sorted out the light leaf bags from the heavier leaf bags because we've got plenty of leaves. Dale did a great job finding all these free bags of leaves. So I've got all the supplies ready. I just need my gloves. Oh wait, where are my gloves? Oh, I think they're in the house. And I've already set up the leaves. We're all ready. I was just inside warming up. It is cold and windy. I've already fed the birds and the squirrels this morning. Now we're going to work in this area. Now you see the fall veggies over there? We're going to start right there with some of the leaves. I've already set up hoops to protect these veggies from the cold. These areas that don't have any plants, we're still going to cover with netting to help keep the leaves in place. We're not going to cover the middle hoops, but they're in place for spring. And I have a variety of greens here. Kale, bok choy, I think that's kohlrabi, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbages. But they're really small. We have other areas that are bigger, but this area doesn't get much fall sun. They're still small, but they're still doing good. Now, why am I mulching with leaves? It's because it feeds the soil. It's going to break down and become rich organic matter. So typically in the fall every year, I lay down cardboard. And then I leave the old plants, roots, weeds, the old mulch. I just leave that underneath the cardboard. And because I put a thick layer of mulch on top, leaves or hay, straw, wood chips, any mulch. Put it on thick. Because this is a no-dig garden. We don't till. And because your soil is alive, it'll work during the winter and the spring and the summer, and it's going to make rich, healthy soil for your fruits and vegetables. Now, you can do it any time of the year, but I prefer to do it in the fall so it has 6 months before the spring growing. Now, the bags are blowing away, so let's put them in the garage, and I can show you the rest of the garden that I've already finished. It looks much better. So these plants are bigger because it gets a lot more sun in this area. Over there where we're working, it's shade most of the day. So it makes a difference where you plant. I think these might be asters. One time I found 3 living geraniums. You never know what you're going to find in those bags. We're going to go ahead and cover this tunnel with netting so the leaves don't blow into the neighbor's yard. Now I've been sheet mulching with cardboard and some type of mulch for 11 years now in this garden. So I do have a lot of experience with this. Many years I use leaves. Not always, but many years. That's my preference. I've learned when you're looking for free bags of leaves, open them up and look inside and make sure it's just leaves and feel the weight. You want them to be light. The really heavy bags are either filled with vines and branches or leaves that have gotten compacted from the rain. So look for those lighter bags of leaves. See the fleece under there? It's ready for tomorrow night. I'm going to put the fleece over it too to keep it warmer because it's supposed to get down to 21 degrees. All of these fall vegetables have been doing fine. It's been in the mid to upper 20s, and they like that cooler weather, but 21, 20 and below, we're getting kind of close. I need to protect them. The netting's there because originally it protected them from the bugs and the digging squirrels. Bugs aren't around anymore, but the squirrels are still here. It also is going to help hold in the leaves, but tomorrow night the whole garden is going to get covered with fleece. And when it gets above freezing, I'll open it up during the day. And after that, it's not going to get that cold for a while. There's the fleece ready to go. Now you're going to find sticks in the bags, but just put them in the compost. They'll eventually break down. Let's go ahead and put the netting on to keep these leaves in place. Let's go close up the green stalk. Now tomorrow when it gets above freezing, I'll open the fleece again. Because that'll help cut down on plant diseases. Down there at the end, I can smell the oregano. I have one more area left to mulch, and that's behind the berries, right along there. We're going to lay down cardboard, but we're going to also put it along the fence because I don't want these leaves falling into the neighbor's yard because it'll kill their grass. But we're not going to do that today. And what about all these bags? These are the heavy bags of the heavy leaves, and I plan to make my own potting mix with these. I'll make a video about it. And all of these bags I'm going to use behind the berries. And some of the leaves are going to settle. Like this morning, I noticed the area, the garlic that we'd already mulched, the little green shoots were sticking up. It had settled, so I put more leaves on it. So we're going to use these bags behind the berries or any areas that might need more leaves. Now the mountain of leaves is gone. Thank you, Dale. Thank you so much. But I have a new mountain. Look. I have a few to fold. Now remember, close the door. You don't want the skunk sleeping inside. It looks good. Now the worms and the organisms are going to get to work breaking everything down and making new rich soil. I've told you before, my garden is a foot taller than my neighbor's. 11 years of building soil, and we have so many worms. Thank you for visiting our garden. See you later. Bye-bye.